The summer is generally a time where we don't see a lot of major PlayStation 4 game releases. However, there are a lot of compelling new games coming this summer, and that's what I want to highlight in today's video. Specifically, 10 new PlayStation 4 games coming this summer you guys should know about. Now, just to cover a couple of things, we're only going over 10 games. There's actually more games coming, and chances are, in the future, more games are gonna be announced and then they're gonna come out sometime in the summer. Also, I know that summer kicks off on June 21st and then it ends on September 23rd. That's just the arbitrary window. What I'm looking at is games from that early June period until late August, early September. A game like Borderlands 3, technically it's releasing in the summer period, but let's be real, September 13th, I consider that more so a fall game release, so I won't even be mentioning. But with that being said, let's get right into it. And kicking things off, The Elder Scrolls Online Elsweyr. The Elder Scrolls Online has become one of the best MMORPGs, and when you assess this game from where it was at launch and to what it's become now, it is pretty incredible, and it's one of the things that Bethesda has really gotten right this generation. The Elder Scrolls Online is just a very good game, and it's just made incredible strides since its original release, and now we have the latest expansion in Elsweyr, Dragon's Return to Tamriel in The Elder Scrolls Online Elsweyr, part of the Season of the Dragon year-long adventure. This will have you explore sun-blessed savannas and canyons, defend the Khajiit homeland, and command the merciless undead with the Necromancer class in this all-new chapter of the Elder Scrolls Online saga. If you've been invested into Elder Scrolls Online, this is just gonna add even more to your experience. If you've yet to get into ESO, man, you should at least give it a shot, especially if you enjoy The Elder Scrolls as an IP. There's so much lore to get into, and even if you're playing the game solo and just exploring the world and whatnot, there's actually a lot of fun to be had. Again, The Elder Scrolls Online Elsweyr drops June 4th. Next up, we have Warhammer Chaosbane. Warhammer Chaosbane is set in a world ravaged by war and dominated by magic. You are the last hope for the Empire of Man against the Chaos Hordes. Playing solo or with up to 4 in local or online co-op, choose a hero from 4 character classes with unique and complementary skills, and prepare for epic battles wielding some of the most powerful weapons of the old world. Now, this is a game you should definitely be playing with a couple of friends, and obviously there can be some resemblance made to games such as Diablo and whatnot. This is touted as the first hack and slash set in the Warhammer fantasy world, told through an all-new story written by Mike Lee and featuring a soundtrack composed by Chance Thomas. Visually, it looks great, and if you're a fan of the Warhammer IP, there's gonna be a lot to like out of Chaosbane. Again, it drops June 4th. Next up, we have Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled. Crash has been making waves ever since the release of Crash the Insane Trilogy, and with that game doing so well commercially, you know that Activision wanted to dig up Crash once again, and now we have Crash Team Racing Nitro-Fueled. Like the original Crash Team Racing, Nitro-Fueled is a racing game featuring characters from the Crash series, and you must avoid obstacles and navigate through the various tracks to reach the finish line. You've got various power-ups scattered across the track to give yourself boosts or hinder your opponents, very similar to something like Mario Kart, but given that we don't have something like that on the PlayStation 4, having Crash Team Racing on the PS4 is gonna be great. And Nitro-Fueled adds several new features not present in the original game, including online multiplayer, the ability to choose different cards which can be customized by the player, and you've also got substantial content from Crash Nitro Kart, the indirect sequel to CTR, including all of its characters, racetracks, battle arenas, and karts. Best of all, it's going to come at the budget price point of $40, and it will be hitting the PlayStation 4 on June 21st. Next up, a game that I am so excited for, it is Judgment. Judgment is coming from the team that brought you the critically acclaimed Yakuza franchise, and now we have Judgment, a new IP, a gritty tale of disgraced attorney Takayuki Yagami in his quest for redemption. Haunted by his past, he takes up arms as a private detective, clawing his way through the underground crime network to investigate a string of grisly murderers. It's touted as a psychological thriller. The balance between justice and mercy teeters on the edge. It looks to have an incredibly mature story, and it was already released in Japan, received incredibly well over there. Had some controversy recently. We had a little bit of skepticism on whether or not this game was actually going to come to fruition, but Sega put that skepticism to rest. The game will be coming, and it's shaping up very nicely. This one also going to have English voiceovers. I know for a lot of you guys that are familiar with Yakuza, you're going to want to play with the Japanese voiceovers. However, for the game to resonate with a more mainstream audience, I think that was a great decision to add English voiceovers as well, and Judgment will be hitting the PlayStation 4 on June 25th. It should be added that if you buy the game on the PlayStation Store, you'll actually get early access to the game on June 21st, so I did want to make note of that. Next up, we have Dragon Quest Builders 2. Dragon Quest Builders has been one of the great new IPs by Square Enix in recent memory. It's an action RPG sandbox game, and it's got the Dragon Quest skin to it, but it doesn't play anything like your typical Dragon Quest game. It's just Dragon Quest by theme alone, and Dragon Quest Builders 2 centers around a group called the Children of Hargon, whose goal is to ensure that all builders are eliminated and that no one be allowed to create anything. Obviously, DQ Builders has a big emphasis on the creation elements, and Dragon Quest Builders 2 is going to retain all of the charming elements that the series is known for. Dragon Quest Builders 2 hits the PlayStation 4 on July 12th. Here's another game that I am super stoked for, AI the Somnium Files. AI the Somnium Files is a mysterious adventure game, and it's done by Kotaro Uchikoshi, who also did work on the Zero Escape franchise, and if you guys played those games, you know how exhilarating, how engaging those games are from a storytelling standpoint. And AI Somnium Files looks to build upon the successes of those games, and it's actually split into two types of sections: investigation parts and Somnium parts. It additionally contains several optional side quests. The story progresses through branching paths leading to multiple different endings based on the choices that you're going to make throughout the game. You're only going to get the full view of the story when you play through each route, so expect a game with a lot of replay value as well. I really dig the presentation, the visual style, and expect it to be incredibly engaging from a storytelling standpoint given who it's coming from. And I think this has a lot of potential to surprise a lot of people over the summer, especially considering it's coming out in a window where there's not a lot of big games surrounding it. I think AI the Somnium Files is going to take the gaming world by storm. We'll see. Maybe I'm hyping it up a little bit too much, but I have high expectations for this one. Somnium Files drops on July 25th. Next up, we have Wolfenstein Youngblood, the standalone expansion to Wolfenstein 2 New Colossus. Wolfenstein Youngblood is the first modern co-op Wolfenstein adventure. The game is set 19 years after the events of Wolfenstein 2. BJ Blazkowicz has disappeared after a mission into Nazi-occupied Paris. Now, after years of training from their battle-hardened father, BJ's twin Jess and Sofia Blazkowicz are forced into action. Team up with a friend or play alone. I'm telling you guys, you're probably going to want to play with a friend considering that co-op is such a big emphasis in this game. You'll level up, explore, and complete missions to unlock new abilities, weapons, gadgets, cosmetics, and more to complement your playstyle and customize your appearance. And while this game is being seen as more of a budget experience, it's being released at a budget price point of $30. Wolfenstein Youngblood is said to feature the most open-ended Wolfenstein experience to date, from a new base of operation located deep in the heart of the Paris catacombs. Plan how and when to attack and dismantle the Nazi regime. I also want to note that there is a deluxe edition being released for the game. It's $40. But it also gets you a buddy pass where you can invite a friend to play with you and they don't have to own the game, so essentially you can get the game a little bit cheaper that way. Just wanted to make note of that. Wolfenstein Youngblood will be hitting the PS4 on July 26th. Next up, we have the latest entry in one of the most iconic franchises in gaming, and that is Shenmue 3. Shenmue is commonly known as one of the most ambitious game projects in history. Obviously, the original game released on the Dreamcast, and while it was critically acclaimed and it was one of the biggest games in history, it was also a massive financial undertaking. And while we did get the release of Shenmue 2, we never got to see the story of Shenmue play out until now. We have the release of Shenmue 3 announced all the way back in 2015. Shenmue is back, and you take control of Ryo Hazuki, a teenage martial artist determined to unravel the mystery behind his father's murderer and exact revenge on the killer. In Shenmue 3, you'll explore a vibrant, colorful open world, meet intriguing characters, and endeavor on a cinematic adventure which will take you further into enemy territory and deeper into the mystery of the Phoenix Mirror. Now, Shenmue is of course very story-driven, so if you've yet to play Shenmue, I would highly recommend you to check out the Shenmue 1 and 2 collection that's available on the PS4. That'll get you up to date with the story on Shenmue. Those games are a little bit dated, so bear that in mind. However, from a storytelling standpoint, they're still very good. And Shenmue 3 will be dropping on August 27th. Next up, we have a game that I'm a little bit skeptical on, but I'm very cautiously excited, and that is Control. Now, Control is coming from the studio Remedy, and if you're a PlayStation 4 exclusive guy, you might not know who Remedy are, considering that they've worked on a lot of Xbox One and Xbox exclusives in general, games like Alan Wake, games like Quantum Break, and now we have Control, their latest big budget title that's also coming to the PlayStation 4. This title is also being ran on Remedy's proprietary Northlight engine, much like Quantum Break, and from a visual and gameplay style, I can see a lot of comparisons to Quantum Break, which is good and bad. It's not like Quantum Break was this breakthrough game. It had some interesting elements. But in the case of Control, it seems like not enough people are talking about the game, and from a storytelling and presentation standpoint, I do find the game to be rather compelling. In the case of Remedy games, they are a little bit on the shorter side, so I think for that $59.99 price point, it's going to be a little bit of a hard sell to some people. However, if you want a quality single-player game, I absolutely think Control is going to be that. We'll find out how it turns out when it drops on August 27th, the same day as Shenmue 3, so that's when you're really going to start seeing the game releases starting to heat up as we head into the fall period as well. And lastly, I do want to give a mention to Catherine Full Body Edition. Catherine was one of the best games of last generation. I really don't think it's hyperbole in saying that. If it's not one of the best, if you don't want to consider it one of the best, at the very least, you have to say it's one of the unique. A mix between a visual novel dating sim with these puzzle mechanics. It was a very interesting game, an awesome presentation, and now we have the definitive version with Catherine Full Body Edition. Now, this isn't your typical remastering. This is adding a ton of new content, richer, more rounded, increasingly complex, the captivating tale of 2011's award award-winning Catherine returns in Catherine Full Body. Now, the original game had 2 main girls you could go after, but this is adding a 3rd, and it's adding a lot of refinements to the overall gameplay and presentation. So if you enjoyed the game on last generation platforms, this is going to be a sizable improvement. Now, it is going to be released at a $59.99 price point, so that's a little bit of a bummer, but still, given all the new content that they're adding, given that you're still getting the base game as well and all of that content that was offered, I don't think it's too big of an asking price. And of course, if you're a newcomer to Catherine, it's going to be worth it on that end, as long as you're a little bit more open to a game that's a little bit more on the zany side, a little bit more on the quirky side. Catherine definitely fills that void, and Catherine Full Body will be hitting the PlayStation 4 on September 3rd. And that's going to conclude this video. Again, these are just 10 games that are coming out this summer. There are actually a lot more games coming this summer as well. We only have a finite amount of time, but I'm sure we'll do an updated video. We'll take a look at more of those games as we get closer to their release. That's going to conclude this video. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.